Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Bella in Your Business. I have something interesting for you today. The thing is I have not actually had a guest on my podcast for a very long time. You are going to be so excited for what I'm about to bring you today because I was. George B. Thomas is here with us today, and he doesn't know it yet. But the day that this all came down, I was having a pretty crappy day. And he came across my feed sharing a screenshot of something that was basically throwing out an 800 number and saying, like, call my clone. And I was like, what? And so I called this number, had a 3-minute total natural conversation with what I thought literally felt like George. That's how good it was. And I instantly jumped into my mastermind, called it back, did a whole video on it, and then actually asked his clone if he would come on my podcast. And here we are. Without further ado, George B. Thomas, how are you, my friend?
Bella, I'm doing great. I'm super honored to be here, to be honest with you. This whole journey that you just explained was both fun and enlightening, and it's just shows the power of when you take the time to lean in and try to innovate in your business and play. Just play around and see what can happen, what you can do. And what's fun, what really fills my heart with joy is you said you were having a bad day and then all of a sudden you interacted with the clone and you're having a better day. And Bella, since 2012, I've been living under this mantra of being a happy, helpful, humble HubSpot helper, right? A human. And so to know that there was some joy or happiness and I didn't even have to be there.
Mhm.
This is one of the like big reasons of why I'm actually doing what I'm doing with this clone.
It's so amazing, and I love that you just mentioned that too, because it I didn't really have to do too much of an intro, but yes, you have been with HubSpot for as long as I know, and you have your own agency too. Why don't
Yep.
you just, in your own words, give a quick breakdown of who you are, what you do, and let's tell people what this clone actually is, what kind of clone it is, because you can
Yeah.
describe it better than I can.
Yeah, I like long walks on the beach. No, I'm kidding. That's not why we're here. So listen, I'm a recovering youth pastor turned developer designer. I was working in an agency in Massillon, Ohio in 2012. We stumbled across HubSpot. We won tickets to the world's largest, at that point, inbound event, our only inbound event. It was through the world's largest webinar that we won the tickets. Started getting HubSpot certifications. One became three, became six. I ended up then going from the agency that I was working at in Ohio to working with Marcus Sheridan before he even wrote the book, They Ask You Answer, which then led me to Impact Branded Design, which then led me to Impulse Creative, which then led me about almost 3 years ago to start my own business of George B. Thomas LLC, which within about a year and a half turned to an agency which I did not expect at all. I didn't really want to lead humans. But then we became Sidekick Strategies April 1st of last year, actually. So we're past our 1 year anniversary. And we help humans with HubSpot. We help humans with marketing and sales. I really help humans with like how do you grow your business? But I also lean into the kind of nerdy side of how do I help humans just be better humans? So there's a lot of like sure, it's wrapped up in HubSpot, but we're in the trenches and we're talking about like real stuff that gets real humans to click on things because we're actually trying to do real good. That's kind of me in a nutshell. Obviously, wife, four wonderful kids. Love to play darts. Okay, I'm done.
George, ever since I met you, I just always was drawn to you because you are a human always breaking down marketing in layman's terms and helping people out. And I also love how much of a visionary and innovator you are, right? And so while the majority of the world is freaking out a little bit in fear over
Yeah,
AI for all different types of reasons, we share a passion for just jumping in, right? And just
yeah,
figuring out things and playing with it. And what I loved is I have, if you're watching the version of this right now, I'm going to actually show you the pictures that I put on this is me at night. And I just screenshot some of this because I was so shocked at what I was having a conversation with you. Like,
Yeah.
I've known you a long time, and the vernacular, like all of it, it was just so very well done. And when everyone is freaking out about AI taking over the world and it's inauthentic, you have
Yeah.
found a way to make this so authentic that I literally had to jump on at like 7:30 at night into my
Yeah.
mastermind and record it. And I wanted you to kind of, I don't expect anyone to just jump in and do this, but guys, this was a phone number that I called and I had a real conversation
Yeah.
with George. His words, his expressions, and and literally it was it wasn't like I was with a robot. It was so real,
Mm.
and all I could think of, George, was these pet sitters and dog walkers that I help, and they consistently hate answering the phone, and
Yeah.
they hate doing sales or answering questions, or they're always busy, their hands are full of leashes and litter boxes. And I
Yeah.
can just see this being more of a norm thing coming up. One of the things I loved, George, was that it told me right out the gate, this is like George's bot. I forget what it said, right? And
I'm
that's
a
one
clone.
thing so many people are
Yeah.
like, there's an ethical side to this, whether we're cloning
Oh,
our voice, cloning our vision, right? It's always introducing it as the bot. So why don't you take us through how you found this
yeah.
app and
Yeah.
why you're using it and how it, like, just tell us all of it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. One of the things that I think we need to hit up on is I'm not using it to replace me. When
Right.
I think about really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to scale me and augment me. And let me explain what I mean by that real quick, because Bella, while you were interacting with one clone, the HubSpot helper, I want everybody to realize that I have the HubSpot helper clone, but I also have one at growth.georgebthomas.com, which is like the personal and professional like growth coach, which I trained like my superhuman framework into and different things like that on the like personal, because I have done a podcast called Beyond Your Default, and there's a bunch of episodes and there's a bunch of information and basically unpacked like how did I become who I am and why do I think the way that I am. I'll get to why that part is important. So there's those two clones, but also we have an internal clone that we can talk with on Slack. I can bring my clone into a Zoom meeting and either on video or just in the chat. And also this clone, a version of it, lives on our website and actually answers questions. So I want you to realize this clone has different instances that I can put in different places, but it's the one closed LLM AI mind that I can tell what pieces of information do I want where. And by the way, the HubSpot helper, I put all of the information because I love the HubSpot community. And I don't care if you come here and ask it, how do I do a workflow? Or, can you walk me through a 5-minute meditation? It's going to do it because I put all the stuff in there for it to do that for this version. And so, a couple things to note before I tell you the tool, because everybody wants to go to the tool, but the magic, yes, enablement is the tool, but the mindsets that people have to have and the things that
Preach.
you probably need to have in place to do what I've done. So like you said, hey, it
Yes.
sounds like you. It sounds like you. Okay. I have an obnoxious amount of time spent with Chat GPT to understand what my voice and tone is, to understand like my target audience, to understand like the nuances of who George B. Thomas is. Meaning, one of the things that we've done before we even built the clone is we put all of the Beyond Your Default podcast episodes into Chat Project, and we dissected it and we asked it like 5 questions per episode. And when we were done, we asked it, based on these episodes, what are the 10 core values of George B. Thomas? What are the 25 beliefs of George B. Thomas? What are the 25 mindsets of George B. Thomas? And so when we trained our clone, the clone was trained on values, mindsets, and beliefs. All right. So there's this core. I was trying to capture the essence of who I am as a human to put into this thing, because the other part of this is I knew the tool would allow me to bring in content. If you're watching this or listening to this and you're late to the content train, and what I mean is if you're late to the value first, human centric, educate people, answer questions, hashtag they ask you answer, this might be a little more difficult for you. But if you've been creating good stuff, if you've been being a helpful human along the way, then this actually becomes relatively air quotes easier-ish, okay? So what I know is the tool that I use, I was able to hook it to two websites, georgebthomas.com and sidekickstrategies.com, and it keeps it up to sync. So when I add a new article or any article or page I add, it's adding to the mind of the clone. I was able to connect two podcasts, the Hub Heroes podcast and the Beyond Your Default podcast, through the RSS feed. So anytime we upload an episode, it goes into the mind. I was able to add my social channels. So it looks at the way that I interact on social. I was like, all of these, I can add a Google Drive folder. So whatever I upload as a document is in there. There's just a bunch of ways that you can connect the information, the content that you've created. And now it's creating that brain. Where last time I checked, and I haven't checked in a couple of days, last time I checked, because of all of our content, all of our additional training, and when I say additional training, I want people to understand this. We're actively trying to make ourselves better and actively trying to make it better. HubSpot releases anywhere from 5 to sometimes 17 updates a day. We have a process at our organization where each employee grabs a set of updates from HubSpot, takes it to our internal, oh, by the way, we have a content creator clone that knows to help us create content, and says, hey, teach this update like George B. Thomas would teach it to the world. And then we take that and we upload it to the brain. So every day it's getting smarter on HubSpot stuff or stuff that I'm interested in. And so it's a process, right? And so what's fun about this is anybody can go over to Delphi.ai. Anybody can connect these channels. Anybody can reverse engineer the method to my madness of like core values and mindsets and beliefs. But you've got to also realize there's this level. And again, I mentioned obnoxious levels of time with ChatGPT to be able to say, hey, I'm building this a Delphi clone, and I want to know in this section, and take a screenshot, I want to build the best custom instructions for this based on everything that you know about me and talking about, and hey, remember my voice and tone, remember my core beliefs, remember. And so being able to go in and give it custom instructions for being a HubSpot helper, or for being a growth coach, or for being somebody in the dog or pet space, right? So there's all these different elements. Again, because I've been on a metric butt ton of meetings, cloning the voice was easy. Like I just went back to some of my Zoom meetings, cut other humans out, uploaded the audio, poof, there it was. There's a feature that you mentioned, the 877 number. So you can call it on the internet. You can text with it on the internet. It'll read to you, by the way, whatever it types out. You can be like, read this out loud for me. Or if you're calling, you can literally have the call. Like 57 different languages, by the way. I've had people on LinkedIn hit me up in German that I had to have LinkedIn transcribe or like give it to me in English, right? I've had one of my employees who is Spanish speaking natively, like interact with it in Spanish, but it's like all of my brain. And so the words we have, I think it's 16 plus million words that are training this Delphi.ai clone that we've created for the world so that we can scale myself. I can sleep and people can get help, right? It's global because it can be in their
There's no
language.
more of someone saying, I wish I could clone myself.
Nope.
It's here.
Yeah. And
It's
literally
here.
one of the things, and you're the first person I think I've talked about, maybe Mike Altman. I might have Altman. I
Love
might have told
him.
him.
He's got a
I
good
love him. He's
podcast, too.
amazing. I might have told him on the podcast. I'm trying to remember, but like I'm literally in draft mode of a book that is about cloning human expertise because I want everybody to realize that they can do this. I want everybody to realize that they maybe should do this. Like this is a very interesting, let's just say business or marketing action. Listen, right now, you might be sitting here and you're like, well, I should create a course for my business, or I need to build a community for my business.
That's
And I'll
so
ask
1D.
you, I'll ask you if a course or a community is because of the educational aspect. Yes, maybe. Or do most people buy courses and become part of a community for access? And if the latter is true and it's access, but they could access my clone or your clone, And they
Yep.
could literally say to the clone, hey, George, I want to learn about inbound sales, or I want to learn about conversion rate optimization. Can you please create a 4-part, 3 lessons per each part course and tell me what that outline would be? And it would give you, yes, this is what I would talk about. George, can you please teach me lesson 1 of part 1? And then it would literally teach. So you could have a choose your own adventure, create your own course, and imagine getting to the end of the lesson and being able to say, George, what else should I know about the thing that you just taught but wasn't in the original outline? And now all of a sudden, and by the way, you could go 3 lefts and a right and then be like, okay, George, you know what? Let's go back to module 1, lesson 2, and let's start over and go ahead and teach me that. Oh, I
Like literally, I don't, I have so much to say, but I also am speechless at the same time. Like I I love having really smart friends. You have
I'm not that smart.
inspired the heck out of me. Oh my gosh. So first of all, I love the way that you describe it, obnoxious amount of time. We were just talking about that in my mastermind today about how they were just talking about GPTs and stuff. And I was like,
Yep.
guys, like you have to understand the mindset shift with this. It's not how do I do this? A equals B. It's understanding the 50,000 foot view of this so that you can do the 30,000, and it's like, and yeah, anyone could go jump on the site, but I also, and you feel free to use this if you want, but have you heard people say, oh, is it a people problem or is it a process problem?
Oh, I've
I
heard this.
say
Yeah.
now, I say that it's either a information problem or an instruction problem. Are you giving it the right information or are you giving it the right instruction? That's where we're at now. And oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love the fact that like I could potentially do what you did, sell access to me. People could have that one-on-one whenever they want, at 1 o'clock in the morning if they wanted with me, instead of sitting on a Zoom at a time of day that was scheduled. And maybe they're just not feeling like, maybe they just want to take a nap right now.
Well,
Like the
that's the thing.
access to that information in that humanized way. You just blew my mind. You just
Yeah.
like I thought I was coming here for one thing and I'm getting completely different, and this is
Well,
giving me goosebumps.
well, here's what's crazy too. Like, you can so again, years of being a happy, helpful, humble human,
Right,
years of people saying, man, how do I get more? And I say this humbly, by the way, how do I get more George B. Thomases in my organization?
right.
Guess what? We're
Now you
called
can.
sidekick strategies, but I've literally created what could be your employee's sidekick. Like
Yes.
they could roll with this tab open no matter what they're doing. And imagine being able to go, hey, George, I got this difficult email. By the way, you're not really talking to me at this time. You're probably typing, but I'm going to talk it so you understand
Right,
what the heck
right.
I'm doing versus hitting my keyboard here. But imagine typing in, George, I got this really difficult email. How would you actually address this? And you just give it the email and this says, well, here's what's happening. And this is what you might want to do. And are you trying to be empathetic? Are you trying to be stern? Well, George, if we actually got a little bit stern on this because we actually haven't done any, can you write the email for me? And boom, quick, rough draft,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or you could literally come to the clone and be like, hey, George, I want to write this blog article on XYZ. Can you help me write the blog article? Like what? And it'll help you. I will tell you, I have to be honest. You were honest at the beginning. The content creation bot, I made it be able to go as long as humanly possible. But after I watched your video when you were talking to it and you go, God, this guy likes to go on and on. I
Well,
was
well,
like,
let me back that up for the listeners who didn't see it. So, what I was saying, and sometimes ChatGPT does this with me too. That was the
yep,
only thing I was like, okay, so we were having a conversation, but it was almost like you were going on, like it wasn't
yep,
short and concise. And I was like,
yep.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but then I started interrupting you because I knew I could. So that's what you're talking about.
Well, that's the thing too. You can say, "Hey, George, I have a question to my clone," and it automatically shuts off, and then you can ask it that
Yeah.
question. But immediately, and this is the reason I want to get into this, is because I want people to realize the control that they have at their fingertips. That was user feedback.
Hmm.
By the way, if you have a company and you don't have a voice of customer in place where
Yeah.
you're listening and changing and adapting, you're gonna die,
Yeah.
right?
For
And
sure.
so you were a air quotes customer because you were being conversational with the clone. And so I
Mhm.
said, you know what? 2 things I know to be true about me. I'm going to simplify the complex, And usually when I'm training something, I'm going to be concise. So I went in and I actually changed the setting to be concise with the answers so that moving forward, when people are trying to engage with the conversation, it can be at a faster pace, feel more
Yeah.
fluid, and feel
Yeah.
even more human.
Yeah.
Which is crazy considering, like, listen, I made up a word probably about 10 years ago. It's called automagical. Okay. It's when I talk about things that HubSpot can do for your business. And I've ended so many videos with don't forget to be a happy, helpful HubSpot human. My clone has said the word automagical to me. It's not a word that's in any other model
Yeah.
anywhere ever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And my clone has ended conversations with, "Hey, George, don't forget to be a happy, helpful, humble human."
Mhm.
Like, so that's the level in which you can, like, how long do you want it? How creative do
Yeah.
you want it? How much do you like, don't hallucinate because it's this closed LLM and it's just my stuff. So there's some guardrails and goalposts and some switches and levers. You can make this thing. And I haven't even turned on the video feature yet, by the way. There is a
What I think is
feature.
amazing is that I think as coaches or consultants, right? Like, I think at first, like, there's a hesitation you go through because you're like, well, why do they need me? They could just go to ChatGPT or whatever, right? But they do, they like people still do want that human. They want
Oh
your
yeah.
take, they want your delivery, they want your brain of it. And
Yeah.
so, like you were saying, for the people that, like I have over 600 blogs, I have over 435 episodes of my podcast. Like, there's a lot of content out there
Yep.
and everyone's copying me now, right? Like, I mean, because obviously at a certain point too, like there's nothing new you can say. And so,
Yeah.
like, people are having the same guests on their shows that I had, like, literally. But if I could do what you did and then give access to everyone. So, and then it's also, I think people also get intimidated or they get like shy or and stuff, and they can just have like this candid
Oh yeah.
conversation with quote unquote you. And
Yep.
it's so authentically you because you have done all the work. So,
Yeah.
as a business owner, just someone who, if you just, maybe you're not a content creator, maybe you're a business owner and there's all the questions about your business. How does it work? How does it do? What my objections and my fears and all this stuff, and by presenting it as this is our friendly bot, like we want to invest in this so we can access and get you the information you want whenever, and you don't have to wait for us to call you back. I mean,
Well,
imagine the doors and the possibilities that could open. I mean, the possibilities that this is presenting
Well,
is
I have
out of
to
this
yes
world.
and you. I have to yes and you because yes, everything you just said is externally to the world, but imagine putting your SOPs in the internal bot and now all the employees could actually ask it the question before it asks you. And what's fun about
So
that?
we've done that with GPTs already. I did a whole class and I
Yep.
said, guys, like your employees aren't going to seek and destroy. They're not going to go look through a Google Doc for the answer, but they will stand there and talk to it and say, hey, the key isn't working in this door. What should I do? And it's going to tell them
Yeah.
an answer, not just copy and paste. They're going to talk to it about them. But having yes, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
some of the people are already doing this. Others are
Here's
still scared of it. But,
here's another
the people
funny
that are going to
part.
be scared are going to be like behind and just it's not even a matter of like implement like you were saying this Delphi. It's not a matter this podcast is not saying go and do that. This
Yeah.
podcast
Oh,
is here today to blow your mind and let you understand what is going to be possible and how this isn't a destination, this is a journey right now, and this is going to be happening for months and years, and things are going to be growing. I'm getting goosebumps again.
yeah.
Growing and
Yeah.
expanding, and if you can stretch your mind, stretch that muscle to understand, oh my gosh, what's possible.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy, Bella, is it's the worst it'll ever be, and it's
Yes,
already
it's the
blowing
dumbest
people's
it'll ever be
yeah,
today,
and it's
right?
already blowing people's minds.
Yeah,
Like what
it's
we're doing,
dumb
it's
right
it's
now.
yeah. And so here's what's a fun side thing that I was like, I didn't expect, but if you're a content creator and you're listening to this, you might feel my pain. When we got it built and I started playing with it, because of course I'm going to do the Geppetto Pinocchio thing and be like, how much of a real boy did I actually build, right? And so I started asking it questions like, hey, talk to me about Salesforce versus HubSpot. And
Mhm,
it started giving me this answer, and then it also brought in Zoho. And I was
mhm.
like, wait, I don't, I didn't, where did it get that information? I didn't write an article about that,
Yeah.
but actually we did. we did write an article about that and I forgot. And I can tell you there's at least 10 to 15 times where my clone will teach something and then I'll track it back to the source that it cited and be like, well, dang on, I forgot we created that like 4 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
like
Talk
even
about a
us,
crescendo of all these years of just being a happy, healthy,
yep,
healthy human, right? And helping people and
yep.
doing the they ask, we answer, and doing the videos and staying consistent with the podcasts and the blogs and the content. Like it is like a perfect crescendo right now.
Yes. Yeah. And listen, I love it because again, I for me, if you've ever seen me on a podcast, if you've ever seen me at an event, if you've ever talked to me in real like life, you know, for me, I'm not necessarily chasing success, which by
Hmm.
the way is why when we decided to monetize this bad boy. Now, let me tell you, people pay thousands of dollars a month to get access to the real George B. Thomas, okay? And
Sure.
I'm blessed, like, but we've
Yes.
also done the work to get where we're at as far as being experts in what we do. But when we turned this on, it wasn't like this massive monetization play because literally for 25 bucks a month you get access to my entire brain. You get 16 million plus words of information around HubSpot and business and personal growth, 25 bucks a month, right?
Yeah.
And so it's how do I scale to those people who before couldn't afford me? How do I
Right.
scale to those people who before couldn't communicate with me? How do I
Right.
scale? Because I'm not using this or anything that we're doing to chase success. I'm out here chasing significance. And
Right.
what I mean by that is my ultimate goal is to get to the end of this journey that I'm on and just be like, all right, bro, show me the ripples.
I love
Like
it.
what ripples was I able to create in my life? And when you're doing it from that place, like
Hmm.
you just start to create things that feel different, which again
Yes.
leads us to why we're here today
Yes.
doing this podcast episode is dang on it, ladies and gentlemen. There is no other time in life where you couldn't be yourself and be different and have ultimate AI assisted, human powered energy at your
Yes.
fingertips.
Yes. I'm so excited. I could keep going. We are going to keep going. We're going to actually jump over into the mastermind and talk with some of the people that are in there because I promised them I would bring you to them. So
Yes.
as we close this podcast episode, George, is it okay if I put in the notes and have people play around with that 800 number, or what's the best way for people to see what we're talking about?
Yeah, two things you can do, and actually two, but it's going to be four links that I'll give you. If you just want to learn more and not interact with it, you can go to georgebthomas.com/helper. That's the HubSpot helper one, or
Okay.
georgebthomas.com/growth. That's the business and personal growth one. That'll
Okay.
just give you information. Now, if you're like, screw the information, bro, I just want to play with this thing and see what's up. Go to helper.georgebthomas or growth.georgebthomas. See, same URLs, but one's a subdomain, one's a not,
Uh-huh.
and just go start playing with it. You can play with it for free. And then if you decide I need this tool in my life, it'll walk you through a process on how to become a paid user and rock and roll with it.
That's awesome. George, thank you so much for spending your time here on the first episode that I've interviewed someone in probably over 100 episodes,
I
a
am
fella
honored.
in your business. I love having you in my life, on my feed. You are so inspiring, guys. Check it out. And I just really hope that it expands your mind. Please hit George up too and let him know that he's fulfilling his purpose in life and making those ripples. And what was your takeaway today? Because I know that he would really love to hear that. So thanks, George. You guys remember, when life gets you down, always keep jumping.